Good morning, everyone, and welcome along to Keenan Recruitment's Freshers Social Work Event 2022. So over the course of the week, we're going to be meeting with lots of different professionals to find out how we can support you on your social work journey. So I'm delighted to have Edel on the call today. So Edel, can you just tell us who you are, what you do, and about your journey into social work?
Yeah, my name's Edel Morgan. I qualified in 2006. I was one of the first relevant graduates that qualified from Queen's back then. So I've been in the profession for goodness, close enough to 20 years.
Okay.
I suppose in terms of my journey into social work, starting out in my studies, I wasn't really too sure what area I wanted to go into.
Okay.
I always kept quite an open mind. There's so many different areas that you get exposed to during your studies. But I was very much drawn towards young teenagers.
Okay.
And I suppose one of my last placements was in the Juvenile Justice Centre, working with young people who had committed or were on remand for offences.
Okay.
So it really spurred that interest in terms of our teenage young people, and advocating for them and wanting to ensure that we provide them the best outcomes. So from qualifying, I then went into a year of family and childcare.
Okay.
I suppose it's normally people's first choice.
Yeah.
I knew that a lot of my experience was within like residential settings, and I needed that, and also wanted that experience of fieldwork.
Yeah. So bringing that kind of one-to-one work into the community then and
Totally working with
outreach.
families, so not just focused on the young person, but the systems around the young person. So did that for a year and then moved into residential, and I've been in residential for many a year, and most recently I've moved into the Department of Health. So
And
in a
how have
more
you found the
strategic.
adjustment from shift to Monday to Friday?
Well, I suppose I'd moved away from shift work a number of
Yeah.
years ago, probably back in 2014.
Yeah.
But I still would have, I think once you do residential work,
Yeah.
it's always in your blood. And if the
Yeah.
call comes out for a wee bit of support, you're always wanting to support your colleagues and your young people. So I would have done the odd wee bit and pieces, but I've been out of residential work now since 2014 in more management and strategic involvement. So moving to the Department of Health, and it's a strategic planning and performance group. So it's been very exciting. There's so much work, so much work going on in the community at the minute to improve the experiences and the journeys for our families and young people to kind of scaffold them more so that we can reach those positive outcomes for our young people.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Edel. So I suppose, have you got any top tips that you would like to share with potential first years or first years who are maybe doing the 2-year access course coming
Yeah. Oh, well, good luck, guys. And I suppose first and foremost for anybody starting, it's to enjoy the process. Everybody's worked so hard to get to this point that this is the next step in your journey as a person to evolve into who you're going to be, not just who you're going to be in your career. So I think it's really important that we keep that at the forefront of our minds. We all reflect back on our university years, good or bad, in terms of how we became the person we are now. So I suppose it's important to get that balance from the outset.
Yeah.
It's really important to concentrate on your studies. Nobody's going to minimize that. But it's also important that you have those positive activities outside of studies. So whether it's about getting involved in some extracurricular activities with societies, doing some voluntary work, if people are doing social work, when you progress into your professional life, people are going to want to embrace those that have a good overview of loads of different areas, because you're going to have more knowledge and more skills to be able to bring to the table. So yeah, just get that balance right from the outset. Create those good scaffolding, networks around you, whether it's, your peer support or your tutoring support. it's about knowing who you can go to at certain times, and try not to let those wee bumps in the road get you down, because
Yeah.
if you reach out to those around you, I think the good thing about social work is that there's so many people come of varying ages, experiences. So look at your group around you when you're starting out in the first couple of weeks, and just kind of imagine the knowledge and experience that is already in that room, and use it to your advantage. So network, get to know different people, and get to know who then can be in your network that will ensure that you have the best experience as you go through the degree.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, obviously, technology's been brilliant, and I know through, when a lot of the students in 2020 were, abruptly pulled out of placement, the group WhatsApps were essential for a lot of the staff. For the students in 2020 had to, suddenly kind of come out of placement.
Yeah.
One of the things that we had was, the group WhatsApp chat, and they were really really drawn on that. So I would definitely make sure that you're in a group WhatsApp chat with your year group, for sharing all things, informal peer support, but also other things as well, in terms of that, as you say, that kind of holistic balance of looking at social work as a whole as well. So you did touch on there in terms of how to ask for help. What resources would you recommend drawing on, as alongside maybe something informal or more formal and structured? So Edel, you touched on there in terms of mechanisms to ask for help, as well as obviously the informal peer support. In terms of something more structured, is there anything you would recommend outside of the supervision process, or would that be your kind of first point of contact?
So obviously, once students go into their placement, there's the formal mechanism via supervision. One of the first key components of supervision is your emotional check-ins, and I would advise students to embrace that. Sometimes people can be a wee bit hesitant to let those barriers down. Like, we all come into social work majority of the times because, well, obviously because we want to help people, but because there's been some experience in our life to date that has influenced it, whether it's other family members that have been involved in social work, maybe having some level of experience of services to some degree. So sometimes people are a wee bit hesitant to embrace that formal mechanism. But what I would say is, let those barriers down. Your line manager will want to support you in placement. Your on-site supervisor will want to support you. So definitely use those mechanisms. And within the university setting or the college setting, there will be mechanisms there to support you. So I suppose it's about the students gauging what level of support they need, and maybe having a threshold in terms of, if things reach this point, I know I need to take the step on to, more formal kind of support. But as we've talked about previously, it's peer support is excellent. There are so many groups. One of the girls that I qualified with has set up the Informed Minds app, which is specifically aimed at students in terms of mental well-being and supports for them. And the number of professionals that she has involved in that app, giving insight and support and strategies, is unreal. So, apps like that are really important, because sometimes people, verbal communication is sometimes not the first way we want to communicate how we're feeling and reach out for help and support. So definitely the peers are first and foremost. You can't underestimate the value of family and close friends. And I suppose also then too, if we're talking about learning and how students can kind of embrace the learning experience. Suppose you touched on earlier, students when COVID hit, they had to adapt in quite a radical way very quickly. And I suppose it's kind of pushed us all to become more responsive. So, there are so many different mechanisms out there. There's so many podcasts that we can use to kind of enhance our own understanding, whether it's, your meditation, or if it's linked to social work practice. I know I'll give you a list that you can share.
We'll get those shared.
Yeah, in terms of support and learning. And then even from doing a quick Google search, you can find podcasts or YouTube channels that are actually directed specifically for social work students in terms of supporting them with, as you say, the holistic side of life as a student, whether it's academia or whether it's just, navigating those social networks and how you fit into that. So there's loads of different mechanisms. I suppose I would say you will have an individual tutor who's assigned to you. Don't be afraid to build that relationship. Tutors are there, I suppose when you're leaving school, sometimes, depending on your experience, how you envisage a tutor will depend on your previous experience. But what I will say is every tutor wants their students to excel, to have an enjoyable, memorable experience, and also do their very best as a professional as they go through their pathways. So reach out to those tutors and, the more formal student supports that are out there too. I suppose I wish there was the level of support out there now compared to how it was whenever I'm back. And I suppose as a parent then too, it gives you that confidence that, young ones moving on, there's so much more out there to support them in the process, that nobody's ever alone.
Yeah. I suppose this is probably a bit of a social work one in terms of getting you to do a bit of reflective practice, but is there something that you wish you knew back when, that a bit of advice that you would give yourself?
I suppose even using that term, reflective practice, takes practice.
Yeah.
So quite often your academic experience to date. So before I did social work, I had a psychology degree that I'd completed. So I'd already gone through, the initial stages of university. So when I entered social work, I suppose I wasn't looking for that, unique experience of university. I'd already experienced that. So I could be more focused on my studies. But I suppose going into it, it's important to kind of push yourself in terms of that reflection. That's a skill in itself, which doesn't always come easy. And I suppose what I wish I had have known back then was it's okay to make mistakes. You're on a learning journey. Nobody can get things right. Even as, a trauma-informed practitioner now, we know that we're all human. We know that we can all make mistakes. And what we want to do is to be compassionate in every interaction that we have with others. So always have those core values in mind, no matter what the communication is that you're about to enter into, whether it's with a peer, whether it's with a service user. It's always to reflect on, how am I entering this communication, and what do I want to achieve out of it? Be compassionate, and there's only good can come out of it. So work on that reflective practice, because it's sometimes a hard skill for us to learn and develop. But I wish I probably had have allowed myself to embrace it a wee bit more, and to say it's okay to acknowledge when you're unsure of things, even in that environment, when you're in your tutor sessions and everybody's knowledge base is different. We had lawyers sitting in our sessions, that had done their law degrees and were coming back and wanted to be a social worker. But yet you hear them reflect on, all our orders that we have to abide by and work under. And it can be a wee bit unnerving. And then you have to think back and go, well, no, actually, they come with different perspectives. Whereas, my focus to date has been, psychology and the influences that behavior and communication have on us. And so it's about being kind to yourself in the midst of that too, that in the here and now you might feel a wee bit overwhelmed, but you will have skills to bring to those conversations that others may not have. So be kind to yourself.
Oh, Del, thank you so much. I think that's a perfect way to end the chat. Everyone, be kind to yourself, look after yourself. Del, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your many years of wisdom. And I'm hopeful that any of the students will find that really, really helpful today. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
no
I'm just,
problem.
thanks so much. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.